Hello, everyone. This is Lauren Israelson, President and Founder of the United Natural Products Alliance. Thank you for joining us once again for an interview with one of our tremendous partners. Today, I'm talking with Dr. Michelle Simon, President and CEO of the Institute for Natural Medicine in Seattle, Washington. Hello, Michelle.
Hello, Lauren. Thanks for having me here.
It's a pleasure. A particular pleasure because I've wanted to interview you for some time. You bring a unique background to the natural product industry. Just by way of background, and feel free to embellish. A bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering from University of Massachusetts, PhD in biomedical engineering from University of North Carolina, and a ND from Bastyr University. And I believe that makes you unique in our industry, but also with that tremendous insights and important a sense of what works. I think the practical is what comes to mind. You combine the belief and the intellect, hard to do, and you are, in my judgment, the one who has done that the best. And so it's a real pleasure to have you on, and I would love you just to further introduce yourself. And what drew you to the natural product industry coming out of such a intense scientific, technical background?
Yeah, thanks. It's a question I get a lot. I have a very unique background, as you stated, but for me, it actually is a continuum. Like, I was that kid who wanted to know how things worked, and that's what drew me to engineering. It's understanding the principles and practices and how things function and how you make them do different things. So I went into mechanical engineering, which is a little dry, and then I wanted to move more towards, like body approaches. I was very fascinated with how the body works, and so I went into biomedical engineering, got a fellowship at the Duke Engineering Research Center, and did some research there. But during my time there, I spent 4 years getting the PhD, and I recognized that what I was doing is at the wrong end of healthcare for me and for what I had been learning, and that I wanted to help people make changes earlier in their lives than like the last 6 weeks of life, which is kind of what my education training was there designed to do in biomedical engineering. So my great uncle Louis knew John Bastyr, and he told me about naturopathic medicine, and so I went back to school. And to me, naturopathic medicine is the engineering of healthcare. Like, I really believe that it's a whole system approach where we take a look at all of the variables that have maybe impacted someone's health, and we try to solve the root cause. What is that issue? And then solve it. Versus often our healthcare system, as it's designed now, is so quick. You have to do something in the moment, and it's often just medicating a symptom to get that person down the road. Versus taking the real time to look at the whole person, taking a systematic approach and solving their issue for us. So I was drawn to this kind of medicine. I think naturopathic medicine to me is like the best form of healthcare. I love it, and that's fine. I'm happy to be an expert.
It's a very ingenious way of looking at it, the engineering of natural health. Probably should trademark that. I think that's an outstanding way to think about this. Now tell us about INM. What drew you to INM, the work that it is doing, and your vision of the future there?
Yeah, so naturopathic medicine is a still emerging profession. We are now in 26 states. We're licensed in states and territories. So it still needs a little more awareness, I would say. And I thought, as a practitioner for about 20 years, I recognized that the marketing of the profession was something that needed a little help. And so when I was on the board of the American Association of Naturopathic Physicians, and the INM, who was founded in 1993, actually, it's their 30th year, was about to kind of lose its charter and go quiescent. And we recognized that having a national organization that is a nonprofit that raises money for the profession, for the education and promotion of the profession, was something that was the need. And I think the INM, when it was founded, was a little ahead of its time. But at this time, about 10 years ago, when I came on board, I think it was the right time. And we had a rebirth of it. So an INM 2.0, I guess I would say. And I decided to take the helm. I was appointed board chair, and I've been here since. I'm no longer on the board. Obviously, I'm just the CEO and the president. But I believe that it was like the next, I don't know, it was like a calling for me. Like, I am not someone who wants to be out in front and leading things necessarily, but I felt like there was a time I had a unique skill set. I have a systematic way of looking at things, and I'm very collaborative. Like I love to work with other organizations. I want everyone to achieve. I don't have a zero-sum mentality. And I think that that was what was needed at this point to kind of bring this organization to its next level of success. And I believe we're almost there, you know, with INM. I think there's a lot more that we could do for sure. But I've been able to assemble an amazing team. We have very dedicated professionals. We have very collaborative culture and very mission oriented people, like to a person. We all are about trying to bring natural medicine forward and really change healthcare so that it prioritizes the lower levels of intervention, diet, lifestyle, nutrition. Like let's have that be our foundation of our healthcare instead of what we see now is more of a reactive, acute approach where folks will come in, they'll get a prescription and off they go, you know, and there's not enough time for anything else really in that system. It's just wrongly incentivized. Happy to be doing this work.
Very important work, that's for sure. With healthcare costs at 19% of US GDP and going up. And yet we are a fatter, sicker, less productive society than ever. And this morning, reading a very interesting piece on ultra-processed foods. And it is possible that for the first time, the federal government is going to take a look at ultra-processed foods as a vector of disease and illness, whether anything changes or not, because there's a massive lobby that basically would prefer the status quo to remain. I think, but we would all agree, status quo is not acceptable. We just can't go on this way. You surrounded yourself with a number of very talented, skilled people, as you've said. Give us kind of a week in the life of INM, the kinds of work that you would do, education, the outreach. Give people an idea of what the day-to-day looks like.
Day to day, you know, well, I'll give you the priorities of the work that we do. I suppose that's probably the best way to approach that. And, you know, primarily we educate the public about the relevance of a natural approach to health and the importance of that, empowering individuals to take charge of their health and making evidence-informed choices about their health, their diet, their lifestyle, all of that. We really believe that whole person medicine is the future.
Yes.
And in order to demonstrate the efficacy of that, we've got many different programs, I guess I'll say. So one of them is a childhood nutritional education program we call Naturally Well. It's a 9-week intervention program. We go and work with a partner organization like a YMCA program or a Boys and Girls Club. And we're actually working with a bilingual charter school in El Cajon, California right now. And we're focusing on 4th graders because we believe 4th graders have a unique time in their evolution where they just are interested. They're like little sponges getting new ideas. And they become ambassadors in their lives for it. So if you give them the right kind of information, they will go home and be advocates for that in their house. So it's like a vector of how or leverage how we can change family dynamics and change community health really by starting early on. So we know that there's a lot of messaging to the public about food in this country. And I think if we start to get to the kids earlier, we can sort of help them distinguish between those messages, how to read a label, you know, how much is the right amount of sugar to have, and why would you want to lessen the amount of sugar? Diabetes is an epidemic in the country. That's one way that we have. We've got another program that's doing research on a food as medicine approach, where we're trying to look at ways to bring education to people who are strongly affected by chronic disease. So these are our underserved communities primarily. And help them become their own, we call it a health CEO. So understand how their body works and how they can take charge of that, because people are curious about that. You know, I think if you give them information, they can make different choices. And so that's another approach that we're taking. The education that we do to the public is primarily through our website, which is naturemed.org. And our goal there is over the next couple of years to become the leading trusted authority on the internet for natural approaches to health. And we think that the competition that we have, they're all businesses, and we are probably the only nonprofit, truly nonprofit, doing work in this area. And I think that the public is a savvy consumer. They know when they see pop-ups about, you know, oh, join this or buy this. They know that that website is actually making money on the content that they put out, and we don't do that. So we are really out there for the public, for their purpose of getting information about how to get themselves healthier. And being a trustworthy, reliable source on the internet is our goal. Like we want to be the WebMD instead of
Mhm.
WebMD,
Mhm.
provide all of that information to the public. So they know how to distinguish. And the younger people, they're pretty savvy. They know how to evaluate information on the internet. So we feel good about this coming generation and their ability to discern where information is coming from and how to make the most of it. One of the changes I saw in my 20 years of practice is there was a couple of demographic changes that were obvious. And one of them was that the people coming in to me as a doctor were getting younger and younger.
Mhm.
And that was a different thing. So we had kids that were in their teens, 20s, and 30s coming in for the first time because they wanted to, not because their parents sent them in, but they wanted to know how to be healthier. And part of this really accelerated through COVID when people
Mhm.
realized that they maybe couldn't trust perhaps some of the conventional messaging they were seeing, and they wanted to learn for themselves how to be healthy and how to be resilient. When you see the messaging coming from the authorities and the public health officials that masking and vaccinations and distancing is all you can do to prevent a virus, everybody knows that it's lacking some common sense. Eating healthy, sleeping well, taking vitamin D. Like there's some basic things that should have been promoted as a public health measure, which wasn't. And it was a huge oversight, in my opinion. And I think that has galvanized the public to kind of take control of health on their own. So we feel like the messaging that we're providing is really well aligned with where the trends are in the
Mm.
consumers that are out there in the consumer database. So we feel super happy to be doing this work right now at this time.
Well, it couldn't be more important for all the reasons you've noted. So naturemed.org, and the general public, anyone who's interested in better health education and tools to work with, can go to naturemed.org. I encourage you to do that. I would say in closing that I'm delighted that UNPA and INM are working together as MOU partners. This is critical as the practitioner often is being asked how to recommend products, both food products, just general lifestyle advice, but also if there's a specific need, could be dietary supplements. Our common interest is to assure that whatever practitioners recommend, that it is of highest quality. It really serves the need of the patient, the consumer. And so it's a real pleasure to be working together to strengthen the relationship between our sister industries. And I'm looking forward to working for a long time together to improve American health. And thank you so much for the work that you're doing at INM. You really, truly bring a beautiful insight. And I love Dr. MD, ND, as a new way of thinking about it. And so I encourage everyone to go check the website out. And Michelle, we'll check in the future, get some insights and updates on new news. So thank you again for joining me today. This is Lauren Israelson with UNPA. My guest has been Dr. Michelle Simon, President and CEO of Institute for Natural Medicine. We'll see you again soon.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.